Welcome to this explainer. Today we are cutting right through those glossy marketing brochures to demystify the real timeline, costs, and bureaucracy of building an ADU in Los Angeles in 2026. Look, if you've been thinking about adding an accessory dwelling unit to your property, you've probably seen the ads promising a quick, super cheap build. But make no mistake, building a small house is still building a house. Today, we're breaking down the exact data, the genuine costs, and the true timeline you really need to prepare for.
All right, let's just get right to the reality check. While the marketing promises a 4 to 6 month turnaround, the actual ground truth for a standard detached new build is more like 8 to 12 months. I know, big difference, right? That 4 to 6 month window you see in those brochures isn't exactly a lie, but it only covers the physical construction phase, from pouring the foundation to the final coat of paint. What it completely ignores is the massive soft phase of design, engineering, and permitting, which, let me tell you, is anything but soft on your sanity and often takes just as long as the physical build itself.
Here is our blueprint for this explainer. We'll look at the actual timeline reality, break down Phase 1, design and permits, Phase 2, site and foundation, then Phases 3 and 4 covering the construction itself. After that, we'll talk real costs, and finally, how to avoid those dreaded delays. Let's get into it.
Starting right off with Section 1, the ADU timeline reality.
So the whole overarching process unfolds in these 4 distinct sequential phases. You really can't just skip ahead here. From the day you hire your architect to the day the city finally hands you the keys, your project is going to live or die based on how well you and your contractor manage these 4 specific milestones.
Moving on to Section 2, Phase 1, Design and Permits.
Okay, the absolute biggest bottleneck you're going to face here is navigating the Los Angeles Department of Building and Safety, or LADBS. Their plan check process is literally the single biggest timeline variable. If you get a clean plan check through their ePlan LA system, you sail right through. But if there are errors, that's going to stall your project before a single shovel ever hits the dirt. Your architect has to draft floor plans, structural engineering, and Title 24 calcs to meet California's super strict energy codes. If your lot is tricky or your design is overly complex, you could be stuck in this review loop for months, just dealing with corrections for fire safety or seismic requirements.
But hey, there is a shortcut. You can actually slash that plan check phase from months down to just days by using what's called RTI, or Ready to Issue Standard Plans. Basically, these are city pre-approved designs. If you want to compress your timeline right out of the gate, choosing a pre-approved design from the city's standard plan program is absolutely the smartest move you can make. It totally bypasses that long, unpredictable custom review process.
All right, Section 3, Phase 2, Site and Foundation. So, with your approved permits finally in hand, contractors clear the stage. This usually happens around weeks 13 to 16. They trench for utilities, coordinating with water and power to get those new sewer and electrical lines hooked up. But listen, the main risk here? It's the unknown beneath the dirt. It's like a giant guessing game, waiting to see what might be lurking down there. Discovering heavy bedrock, uncompacted fill, or, no joke, an old abandoned septic tank can instantly stop work and force you to bring in a soils engineer. Next up, Section 4, Phases 3 and 4, Construction. Let's map out this physical build week by week. Around week 17, your ADU actually starts looking like a real building. Framing goes up, the roof is set, and it becomes weathertight. Then, by week 20, you hit the rough-in stage. That's your plumbers, electricians, and HVAC techs running all their lines. Fast forward to week 25, and we get into the careful ballet of finishes. Drywall, paint, cabinets, the whole shebang. And finally, around week 32, if the stars align perfectly, that final inspection yields your certificate of occupancy. But you gotta remember this critical reality from the ground. Every single trade must be signed off by the city. A failed rough-in inspection is a hard stop. You're effectively paying for a very expensive waiting game until the city official signs that card. Literally nothing gets covered up by drywall until they give the green light. A top-notch ADU contractor really proves their worth here by tightly managing this sequence to avoid dead days on the site.
Now for Section 5, Real Costs and Examples.
Okay, brace yourselves for a little bit of sticker shock here. In 2026, you realistically need to budget between $400 and $600 per square foot for a new detached ADU. Let that sink in for a second. If you're building a standard 700 square foot unit, you are looking at spending anywhere from $280,000 to $420,000. And keep in mind, those figures generally just cover the physical build itself. They usually don't even include upfront design fees, city permit costs, or the landscaping you'll need to fix up your torn-up backyard.
So why the intense price tag? Well, it's not just about the cost of materials. It's heavily influenced by California's prevailing wage laws. This means contractors often have to pay union-level wages, which massively drives up your local labor expenses right here in LA County. It's simply the economic reality of building in the specific geographic market right now.
Let's put this into perspective with 3 real-world examples. A 750 square foot detached build in Sherman Oaks runs about $365,000 and takes roughly 39 weeks. But notice how different project types change the math completely. A garage conversion in Eagle Rock repurposes an existing structure, so that drops the timeline to 28 weeks and the cost down to $160,000. And then you have a junior ADU or JDU in Highland Park. Because a JDU is carved entirely out of the home's existing footprint, it's the absolute most affordable option at $105,000, taking just 22 weeks. The scope of your project completely dictates your timeline and your budget.
Finally, Section 6. How to avoid delays. So how do we keep things on track? You can definitely compress your schedule by using those RTI standard plans we talked about, hiring a true ADU specialist, and finalizing all your material choices early. Seriously, lock those in. On the flip side, homeowner-driven change orders will absolutely destroy your timeline. Deciding to move a wall after the electrical is already run isn't just a minor tweak, it means demolition, rework, and reinspection. Also, if you're building in a hillside zone or a historic preservation overlay zone and HPOZ, that's going to suffocate your timeline with extra red tape for sure. To protect yourself from those nasty unforeseen site conditions, the National Association of Home Builders strongly advises holding a 10 to 15% cash contingency fund. This is especially crucial for properties over 30 years old. You just can't predict expansive clay soil, a weird unpermitted sewer line, or surprise structural upgrades that pop up once you open an old wall. This cash reserve isn't just a nice-to-have, it is absolutely essential to keeping your project moving when the unexpected inevitably happens.
Building an ADU in Los Angeles in 2026 is an absolutely incredible way to add value to your property and create much-needed housing. But as you can see, it demands real patience, quick decision-making, and solid financial readiness. The most successful homeowners respect this reality and plan accordingly. So, looking at the true bureaucratic and economic realities we've just outlined, the ultimate question I want to leave you with today is this. As building costs continue to soar and regulations keep evolving, will ADUs remain a realistic tool for everyday homeowners, or will they just become a luxury only wealthy investors can afford? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer.